AOC discovers gardening and Dems panic as the economy booms. This is Mark Fisher with Mark and the Millennials. We have with me Andrew Fulginiti and Ryan Brady, the squirrel. How are you guys doing?
Good. Doing all right.
It's awesome. First, we have AOC discovers gardening. AOC talks about her community garden plot. What an idiot. And she says this. She sounds like a Valley girl when she talks. We actually have a clip from this. You have to listen to this to actually believe it. Let's hear the clip.
Oh my God, you guys. I just checked on my community garden slot, and I was so nervous because I was in New York for 2 weeks in recess. Look. Oh my God, look at this. Look at the collard greens. They're huge. Look at the dahlias. Oh my God, I don't have to trim all of these back for smoothies.
Even the dahlias?
I am shook.
I am shooketh.
Look, honestly, gardening, food, that comes out of dirt. Magic. Tomatoes died, though. Let's pour one out for the tomato, but...
What did that mean? She used the bottle.
So exciting.
Pour one out for my homies.
Yeah. It's a thing.
That's a boomer thing. It's like, let's start with that. What does that mean? Because I'm a boomer. I'm not a millennial. Come on.
You pour a drink out for your homie. He's dead. You pour one out. Say, if you can't enjoy a drink, I'm drinking one, so I pour one out for him.
Pour one out for a
So the tomato plants are
fallen,
homie.
yeah.
So is this the dumbest thing you've ever heard of? I mean, why do you guys think this is cool to engage and watch this? Do you watch it?
No, I didn't even know this was happening. I just found out she has a Netflix documentary called Knock Down the House. And I just wow, everyone's about AOC, and it felt like an audio book about first graders how to garden.
I didn't realize that they didn't know what dirt was or plants in New York City until now.
So you have a
This is an
topsoil,
enlightening
some
video
clay.
because her excitement over dirt was pretty shocking.
It is.
Well,
I think was this the community garden plot in Washington, D.C.?
I thought it was in New York. She was at
was it New York?
recess.
Yeah, she said
Okay.
she was in, back home. Yeah.
But then here's the question, though. Was the fertilizer used all natural, organic, or was it chemical-based? Because she might have some issues depending on what fertilizer they used.
That's exactly right. And I wonder if she actually planted it. I've asked this before. Do you think she really planted this herself? I mean, she probably bought the plants, put it in there, and made it look like they actually grew.
Probably a community group that does the gardening, and then oh my God, it grows.
That's right. She's such
My
a
question
phony.
is do more people in New York City not know where their food comes from? The excitement. I was just kind of shocked. Why is she so excited over lettuce?
Oh, fun.
And why do these videos go viral? Why do millennials watch this stuff? I mean, I think it's crap, but why do they watch it?
Social media generation. We grew up with these. I got my first cell phone, not a smartphone, a flip phone in 4th grade, and I was 10.
But I mean, are millennials actually watching this saying, "Oh my God, food grows from dirt. I can't believe it. I didn't know that." Thank you,
You're
AOC.
connected to your phone as much as our generation is. It's just fascinating looking into someone else's live. We're just used to knowing what people are doing 24/7. They're tweeting about it. They're on Facebook. Now these live videos, it's just something to watch while you're mindlessly surfing social media.
That makes perfect
I think
sense.
there's a good portion of millennials that maybe totally removed to the process of how food gets brought to the table, industrial food production.
How's that possible? How can you not
I
know
go
how to
hunting,
grow a
so I
garden?
know that I had my hand in bringing some food to the table because I know I get buy meat from the grocery store. That's industrial food processing. I totally get it. But me having the hand in it, I understand a life is taken so I can eat some good food. Just saying.
Yeah, we're going to get to the farting cows later, trust me. So, next subject. America's economy is humming along, and I think the Democrats are going crazy because of that. We actually have a couple of clips on this, but first, listen to this. We have 1.2 million more jobs than there are unemployed persons in the United States of America. That is just unheard of. We have the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years. U.S. employers added 263,000 jobs this past quarter, and then the unemployment rate fell to a near half-century low of 3.6% in April. We have a clip from CNN. We're going to be fair and balanced here. Here's CNN. Let's hear what they're talking about the economy.
Another big jobs report. The U.S. economy adding 263,000 jobs in April. The unemployment rate sinking to a 49-year low.
Wow. Lowest since 1969. Christine Romans with
She's
us
not
more.
happy, right? She's not happy at all.
Strong
CNN.
number.
Yep.
Strong top line number. Anything that gives you pause in this entire report?
It is a strong report, and it shows that companies are hiring, aggressively hiring. When I look at the trend here, you can see we had a very strong January. February, we were worried about the government shutdown and what that might have meant, but everything bouncing back here. When you
So there we go. CNN's not happy about it. They're talking about it, which of course, at least they're reporting it, because before they wouldn't report anything. But finally, you hear them talking about news that's good news. What do you guys think about this? You've seen the articles in the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, New York Times. The economy is doing great.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Yeah. Well, when you cut taxes, eliminate regulations, renegotiate trade deals, and basically do everything you promised on a campaign, things like this happen. I mean, Trump's actually doing what he said he was going to do. He's backing up his promise to improve the economy, and it's showing.
It's extraordinary. Ryan, what do you think about this? Are you feeling it? Are you feeling the better economy yourself?
I'm enjoying it a little bit.
Yeah, because you just got a new job. We're not going to say what
jobs
it is.
Are out there,
yeah, jobs are jobs. But though, in certain industries, though, you're going to be having some issues with skill gaps with especially the high tech industries.
Yes.
Because there's not enough skilled people in the workforce that can actually fill those jobs. So as we see down the road in maybe 5 to 10 years, you're going to have a couple 100,000 to almost a couple million.
Is that why we have 1.2 million more jobs than unemployed persons? Because those people can't come into the workforce to fill those jobs?
I don't know what those new jobs are added, but I would assume that some of them are a mix of high tech labor and low skill jobs that maybe people don't want to do or fill.
Yeah, and another point here is there's an article, a strong economy actually lessens income inequality as the poorest Americans benefit most from a strong economy. This is the Daily Signal. It talks about how the poorest Americans benefit most from a strong economy, which is, of course, true, right? So income inequality is actually improving. That is to say, it's not as sharp because people are getting jobs and they're getting better jobs and they're moving up the totem pole, of course. What do you think about that, Andrew?
Yeah, I think that's like a fascinating point. Like, I think there's a lot to unpack in that because I was doing, I looked into that article and I also read from, I think it was the Economic Policy Institute. And they did an article and had some data in there saying that over the last 2 years, they examined wage growth, and the highest wage growth was in people that just had a high school education or lower, at 2.6% wage growth over a 2-year period versus people who had a college degree at 0.9% wage growth.
Wow.
So I think, that's fascinating. I mean, that's good because it's saying that the wages are increasing. But I think it also speaks to whether or not this whole debate on you need a college education in America.
That's a great point.
I feel like that kind of there's this myth perpetuated, and it's showing based on stats like that you have to go to college to get a job. Where there's all these jobs and wages are increasing in people for people that didn't go to college or need to go to college.
And to that myth, we've been seeing that go over decades. You could say maybe 50s or 60s, a high school degree, you'd be set. Then you get into the 70s to 90s, you need an undergrad. And then now it's almost like you need to get a master's degree to get even your foot in the door in a high GPA. But once you're in there, maybe 2 or 3 years of work experience, no one cares about where you went to school. No one cares about your degree. They just want to know if you're professional, can actually do a job.
Exactly.
Which should be the case in the front of the gate anyways.
And suffice to say, the Democrats are extremely upset that the economy is doing well, which is really strange to put yourself on the side of policy to say, I'm really not happy that the economy is doing well, so I'm going to complain about everything else. I'm going to blame the president for this or for that. Well, we actually have a clip from John F. Kennedy, and it's about his tax cut that he was talking about in 1962. Let's hear it.
The worst deficit comes from a recession. And if we can take the proper action in the proper time, this can be the most important step we could take to prevent another recession. That is the right kind of a tax cut, both for your family budget and the national budget, resulting from a permanent basic reform and reduction in our rate structure.
So there you have it. John F. Kennedy, a Democrat, one of the most famous Democrats of the 20th century, certainly one of the most famous Democrats in American history, as a president, that is. He wanted to cut taxes and specifically talked about the benefits of cutting taxes, how a rising tide lifts all boats. Thoughts from millennials?
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show you the difference in the two parties and how the parties progress. You got, the Kennedy Democrats saying that tax cuts could work, and then you got Democrats today where we're in an economy where there's abundant opportunity everywhere. But it's not enough. You hear him talking all the time. It's not enough. I think it was the candidate Amy Klobuchar on CNN recently said, it's not. Yes, the economy is doing well, but there's still people that can't afford healthcare. Blah 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 blah. And it's like, well, yeah, there's always going to be people in society that are the poorest of the poor, no matter what. But
the question is,
point to them
is there upward mobility?
Right.
That's the question.
There's opportunity that they can take, and their philosophy is that it's government's job to give it to them rather than for them as an individual to take it.
Personal responsibility to achieve the American dream. You just have to have the opportunity there.
Which is a perfect segue, because now the Democrats in Washington and world governments want to increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Now, of course, Maryland and other states have already done this, and they're going to, of course, put the $15 minimum wage in over a period of years.
It out.
Yeah, but here's an idea where the Democrats want to do that, and meanwhile, we're solving this problem with a growing economy. What do you guys think about setting minimum wages? Is that the job of government to constantly
it's
micromanage?
Kind of like just what I was kind of hitting on. It's we've got an economy that's booming. There's abundant opportunity. This is, I think, raising the minimum wage. They point to the lowest of the low and say, well, they're getting left behind, and the only way to solve that is government mandating a raise in wages. And I think it's just government bloating itself and holding on to people that, now these people that you're raising their wages, they need you, right?
Yes, they do.
You're needed by the people.
And you're going to vote for them. And what about automation? Right. Of course, you go to McDonald's, they have a kiosk there, and now you're getting rid of these people that normally say, hi, welcome to McDonald's. Instead, they're going to say, hey, there's a kiosk over there, go there and order your food, because all those people that were at the front desk, they're gone. I mean, that's what
government's trying to supplant innovation, but innovation's going to win out.
Always,
and it's going to be at the detriment of the people
of the entry level workers who don't have any skills and need
technology
some
will always disrupt.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, that's a great. Normally I would do squirrel for that, but we'll hold off. We'll hold off. There's more squirrel to come. So next subject, we have Hillary Clinton. She recently was interviewed and said that the election, hear this folks, was stolen from her. We have this clip. Let's hear it.
I think it's also critical to understand that, as I've been telling candidates who have come to see me, you can run the best campaign, you can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you.
There were all of her supporters just like, yay, it was stolen.
Give me a break.
I mean, here's the takeaway that I have from this. Here is one of the most famous people in the United States basically engaging in rhetoric that is so dangerous because she's saying our elections are not free and they're not fair. And that could actually cause social unrest because people could start to believe that. And I think many of her folks already do believe that. She lost. Mm-hmm. She lost because she's a bad candidate, but she's still out there. Guys, what do you think?
Words have meaning.
They do.
And with social media now, anti-vaxxers are now getting more prominence. We got flat earthers now that believe it have celebrity prominence. You're like, what's going on here? What happened to actual rational facts?
Flat earthers?
There are flat earthers.
There's a documentary on Netflix now because of it, because it got so popular. Apparently, Shaq's a flat earther.
Squirrel!
Good timing.
No. I mean, honestly, I think it might not be a bad idea to let her continue to say these things because the more they say it, I think it shows how stuck in that thinking they are. And if she is the voice of the party moving forward, which I know Democrats are fighting for her not to be, the progressives at least, but if she can perpetuate that myth more and more, I think they're going to get blindsided again come 2020 when they upset the base that voted Trump in 2016.
And she only can blame herself because she set the stage. She was Secretary of State for most of President Obama's presidency, so...
Exactly. I mean, the thing is why don't we have voter ID? I mean, if she's really concerned that the election was stolen from her, then let's have photo voter ID nationwide so that you have to prove that you're a citizen of the United States and you have to prove where you actually live so you vote where you're supposed to be voting. I mean, but they never want to talk about that. They just want to say it was stolen, but there are no details to follow that, right?
It was stolen from them, she's implying from Trump, yet they took more actions, not only to stop Trump, but she took more actions to prevent Bernie Sanders from being the nominee than Trump ever did. Yeah, so it's like,
that's
who was the election stolen from?
Yeah, it is. And she also pandered on racial lines, too.
Yeah, I mean, that's a brilliant point, Andrew. I mean, because really, she basically created rules in the Democratic Party that made it impossible for Bernie Sanders to win. So the primary was stolen from him.
Yeah.
But I've never
Super
heard him
delegates.
complain.
And a lot of Democrats don't forget actually a lot of millennials. I know a lot of millennials are the
They
Bernie
love
supporters.
Bernie Sanders.
They
And,
love
and Sanders
Bernie.
and Biden are the top polling candidates right now, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
Obviously, that's the two Democratic generations
The
right there.
Old
yeah.
white men. Who would have thought that was going to be a thing?
Everyone.
So next up, we have an illegal immigrant in Maryland was hired to register voters. Montgomery County Police have implicated a former Casa de Maryland employee. That's an organization that assimilates, at least in theory, immigrants who are legal, but actually Casa in Maryland integrates folks who are here illegally as well. And was living in the United States illegally for an assassination-style shooting that left a man badly injured. Darwin Rinaldi Cruz Rosa, 20, in Hyattsville, Maryland, was charged with attempted murder and second-degree murder as well, and first-degree assault and a bunch of other things. But the takeaway from this is just not that he was here illegally, folks. It's also that he was hired by Casa de Maryland and paid to register voters. So clearly, I'm sure his English is very broken. I really shouldn't assume that, but I'm assuming his English is broken. So he's probably going to Spanish-speaking communities and registering other folks who are illegally present as well. I mean, what do you guys think about this?
I mean, for me, here's the connection. As long as the Democrats, as a platform, continue to preach social welfare programs and government control, increased government control of the economy, they're going to need to continue to have individuals like this be available to vote for them.
Absolutely.
To further their agendas. Because, I mean,
It's kind of like stealing elections, right? You know, like what Hillary Clinton just said.
Cradle to grave care. That's all they want.
Yeah, they just want people dependent. I mean, it's really sad, first of all, that the guy is here illegally, but he's not just, an illegal immigrant. This particular individual is a crook. And I just want to make it clear to everybody, we don't believe here as a group that immigrants, are criminals and so forth, but we do believe that if you're here illegally, you should have to be returned to your home country and enter illegally. But here's an individual who is actually trying to murder somebody and he's registering. I'm just sorry. I just feel like folks out there who are listening would get so upset over the idea that someone here is illegally and they're registering voters. I mean, what do the folks who are at the registrar of voters, do when they get these applications? I mean, do they notify ICE?
No,
I don't think Maryland participates in that.
Absolutely. I'm sure they don't. I'm sure California doesn't. I'm sure there are a lot of other states don't. But here's an example where, of course, we always hear, well, there's no voter fraud, right? Hillary Clinton says, well, there is voter fraud. It's only Donald Trump. Well, here, and of course, it's not true because I don't think Donald Trump was smart enough to steal an election.
No.
But here's an example of someone, an actual group of people are working hard and organized to be able to undermine elections in the state of Maryland and elsewhere, I'm sure. Because I'm sure Casa, that organization exists in other states as well?
I believe so. And there's pockets throughout, I know throughout the state of Maryland and probably other states as well. I'm not too familiar, but there are pockets of little localities that are expanding voting rights to, illegal citizens on certain issues and certain elected positions in the local level. So this is not going to go away.
And we talked about that in a prior episode, maybe a month or two back.
Absolutely. Yeah, we did. So any final thoughts on this before we go to the human interest story? Okay, so our human interest story is kind of silly, but there are people using other people for skiing. Now, personally, it's kind of dumb, but there's actually a video, and you can actually see this video on Facebook if you want, because we'll post it. It only has music. There's no there's no one actually narrating, but it's a dude who's basically skiing on top of another guy, and it's not that the other guy is on top of a sled or on top of some sort of ski. He's actually right on the mountain. Jeez. And it's kind of stupid, I know. Thoughts, guys? Would you try this? It looks like a classic millennial thing.
I did try this when I was younger. Actually, I think this is nothing new. I mean, this is like I think in the video they were older guys, but I'm pretty sure kids invent things like this all the time. I definitely remember using one of my brothers as a sled at some point in time.
I haven't seen the video. But
your twin brother,
but how much?
Yeah, he's smaller and easier to force to do things.
Go, Ryan.
I was going to say I haven't seen the video, but how much are they paying?
I'm not sure they're paying anything, but the video is kind of interesting because they really are. They're going pretty fast.
It was impressive.
I mean, that had to hurt. I mean, can you imagine?
He had to keep good form. It was almost like a surfboard. He had like perfect form. The guy being the ski, that is. And
the other guy was standing like square on his back.
Yeah.
So I guess that was the strongest part. I don't know. It's kind of dumb. Right?
Could be a good advertisement for like the jacket brand, whatever jacket he was wearing.
There we go. Burton.
And now we have, every episode we have this, the dumbest bill in America. We have the dumbest bill in America. We have any music for that, Adam? Oh, come on. We need music for that. So the dumbest bill in America happens to be in California. What a surprise. And the state of California wants to levy a tax on self-driving autonomous vehicles, even though they don't yet exist. The bill would impose a tax of up to 3.25% on each ride provided by a self-driving or driverless vehicle, even though no self-driving or driverless cars are allowed yet on the road. Yet California decided to put this tax in place before they even have the technology available.
And people say government is slow to react. I beg to differ. They are proactive in the case of taking your money. They work very efficiently when it comes to increasing taxes.
It's a fact. Ryan, what do you think about this? I mean, isn't this an example of we have too many bills in America? Too many people with too much time in the legislatures throughout the 50 states?
An exasperated sigh would be my answer. But yeah, there's too many bills. Everyone's trying to get their bills, their ideas in, which some are not the greatest, but they get passed through political favors. And also California jumping the gun because they do just want more money, even though they have a really high GDP, like super high. One of those countries.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I want everybody to know, I got this off of Senator John Morlocks. He's a state senator in the state of California. He actually has a list of bad bills on his website, which is pretty terrific. He's a Republican representing an area of Orange County in California in the legislature there.
God bless him.
And can you imagine how lonely that must be? And so I looked on his website, and this is one of the 2019 bills that he just called stupid, because of course they can't wait to tax something that I mean, can you imagine going home to your district in San Francisco as a legislator? I think that's where this legislator was from who put this bill in and say, I'm a hero. I taxed autonomous vehicles. And everybody's like, yay!
I think it is probably a badge of honor in states like California to find a new revenue source. I mean, it's a state that big, that with that big of a budget, I mean, they're literally looking for new ways to create revenue all the time.
And the funny thing is, geographically, California is more Republican than it is Democrat.
Yeah, wait a minute. We need a squirrel. We need a squirrel for that. Squirrel. Please explain that, Ryan. I'm not sure people can understand what that means.
Sorry, if you look at the political map of districts,
there are more red areas.
Yes,
but that's geography, not population.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, the population is actually in the cities, and the cities tend to be more Democrat.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. Now I just want to make sure everybody understands. I agree with you completely because Maryland is very similar, right?
Yep.
The country is similar.
Yeah,
the country's
exactly.
similar.
The country's massively, red.
And without the Electoral College, those would be the areas that would always be ignored.
Yep.
There would be no incentive to ever go to those areas, of course. And I know we've talked about that before. So any final thoughts on this dumbest bill in America, and this whole idea that you got to pass bills no matter what they are just to be able to get attention to yourself? Because that's how you're judged, right?
Now killing innovation, they'll say, oh, we don't want to be taxed anymore. We're not going to build autonomous cars anymore. Bye.
Well, next subject, Venezuela in meltdown mode. We actually have a clip on this, and, Venezuela's falling apart. We all know it. Let's start with the first clip. Adam.
Thank you, Amy, for having me. It's really great to join you all this morning. I concur with what Professor Sachs was saying. A lot of the policies that we have put in place has kind of helped lead the devastation in Venezuela. And we've sort of set the stage for where we are arriving today. This particular bullying and the use of sanctions to eventually intervene and make regime change really does not help the people of countries like Venezuela, and it certainly does not help, and it's not in the interest of the United States. And I think finally we have folks in Congress that see what Professor Sachs was referencing.
So that was Congressman, I should have set that up. That was actually Congressman Ilhan Omar, who basically was saying the United States is bullying Venezuela, and that's why Venezuela is in the situation that it's in. It's our fault as a country that Venezuela is imploding as a socialist country. Thoughts, guys?
They had a really good GDP for a while, then they spent it all away with the socialist policies, and now look what you have. Super high inflation. I think in a prior episode we talked about how coffee used to be like, what, 2 bolivar? Now it's like 800 bolivar to buy one thing of coffee.
And that's the currency in Venezuela.
Yep,
right?
Correct. And there's no food, there's no toiletries unless you're buddy old pals with Maduro. And
you have to go outside of the country now to get it.
Yep.
You're right. You have to buy it in neighboring countries, and so it's creating chaos in the neighboring countries and a supply chain problem as well. Right, Andrew?
Yeah. I mean, it just boggles my mind that this is their philosophy, is that America is somehow supposed to be, is the great equalizer, is the stabilizer in the world, and that our policies are the reason other countries' economies are failing. Like, you got Venezuela, who is one of the is the oil richest country in the world and should have, a booming economy based on just solely that. I mean, look at Saudi Arabia, right? I mean, they're an oil-rich country and they're doing fine, but it's America's policies that are the reason.
It's their fault.
It's not the socialist policies of the country. It's our fault.
And the funny thing is I saw this interview of Bernie Sanders on CNN recently this week, and they were interviewing Bernie Sanders, but in the background, superimposed on CNN on the TV, they had Venezuela imploding, and I thought, well, that's perfect, right? You got Bernie Sanders, the socialist, you got Venezuela behind them. That's the before and after, because that's always the way it works.
I love how Bernie recently, I don't know if you guys have noticed, is Bernie, like some news bits I've been seeing is that they're like really giving him flack over his book deal and how it's like he's like become like this symbol of like capitalism and he hates it. He has to start like every speech now with like, what? I'm not a criminal. I get a lot of money.
I'm not going to give up my $1 million.
I will not apologize.
That was my hard labor.
So we have another clip to respond, for the most part, to lovely Ilhan Omar. Let's hear it about Venezuela.
Venezuela was once the second most prosperous nation in this hemisphere.
Vice President Pence.
And because of dictatorship and oppression and socialism under Nicolas Maduro, now 9 out of 10 people in Venezuela live in poverty. 3 million people have fled the deprivation of that country. My wife and I met with refugees during visits to Colombia, during visits to Brazil. And it's the poverty and suffering in that country at the hands of the dictator Nicolas Maduro is unspeakable.
Yes, that's Vice President Pence saying it the way it is with Venezuela. And that's what we need to hear, because so many folks who, especially millennials, they don't remember a Venezuela that actually was prosperous. They only see the Venezuela of today. And that's why we need to talk about this, because so many millennials think socialism is something that we should try. And they really haven't had life experiences to see the rest of the world throughout the 20th century. And now, of course, in modern times, they don't realize it's socialism that has caused these problems. Guys, thoughts?
History.
Squirrel.
Yep,
I've said this before, but I don't know like how effective comments. I mean the position from Pence and people that have lived it, like in the baby boomer generation. Like I don't know how effective it is on landing on millennials, because like we haven't experienced it. Like right, so it's like everyone wants to try it, and I don't know if we'll get to there, but if I think, if we actually start implementing some of these policies, whether it be on a state basis or national, if Sanders or somebody gets elected into office, I think when the policies are implemented, then we'll see, whether it takes hold or not. But I don't think millennials are like phased by comments like from Pence and things like that. People.
God, that's so scary.
And to that
that's
point,
scary.
we see in millennials also, if we don't agree with you, we just close you off and we're staying in our bubbles. We don't even care what your opinion is, even if you may be right and have a better opinion that may actually inform our own opinions with facts. Nope, we're not going to listen to you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the millennials can pull like an AOC when it comes to gardening. Oh my God, I didn't know that socialism was going to cause this. Oh, wow.
And then here's to the next generation. There's the bag.
I will say, to be fair though, I was watching some of the comments from Omar, and she did talk about like, I think in the full comment she talked about like also like she doesn't want U.S. to be involved in regime change. I think that was like the point of some of it. And I kind of I think millennials may tend to agree with that because we lived through Iraq and exactly
Afghanistan still,
and baby boomers have lived through multiple attempts at U.S. regime change at different occasions. So I agree with it. I'm sure a lot of them.
That's fair. No, that's super fair actually.
Well, Russia's trying to get in there. They sent some military jets, and most of the world has supported Guaido. So we'll see what happens.
And that's the gentleman who actually won the election, who will not. He cannot take power because, of course, Maduro won't concede, right?
And Maduro has military power still because the military guys are. And China and South Africa, I think, too.
So next up, we have plant-based Beyond Meat. That's the name of the company. It's called Beyond Meat. It's a plant-based meat product. You can make, hamburgers and stuff like that. They actually went public, and we actually have a video, I believe, as well as audio on this. Let's hear it.
Keep your eyes on this stock today. Shares of plant-based burger maker Beyond Meat have more than doubled in their market debut. Beyond Meat is among a growing number of companies looking to profit from a trend toward meatless proteins. Joining us now from New York is Seth Goldman. He's the executive chairman of Beyond Meat. Seth, great to be able to be with you. Congratulations on your IPO today with the stock surging.
Thank you. It's a really exciting day for us.
Seth, wake up.
I'm curious from your perspective, what you really communicated to the potential shareholders and your shareholders today on the road show. What are they buying into?
Yeah, it was really this vision that we're going into the largest category in food, where there is essentially mostly commodities, and we're bringing a product that is innovative. There hasn't been innovation in the meat section of the store for really decades. And so to bring a differentiated product with a proprietary advantage that really addresses so many of the needs consumers are looking for around health, around the environment, and even around the issues of treatment of animals. And there's clearly an appetite for it at the store, and obviously an appetite for it among investors as well.
So there we go. Beyond Meat, I think that gentleman is the head of the company. They just went public, and of course, this is definitely a millennial thing, right? Because the idea that you don't eat steak and you don't eat meat, this is plant-based, and you make it, and it kind of looks like meat. I don't know what it tastes like. What do you guys think about this idea?
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
It's healthier, right? It's
alternative
healthier.
options,
I think it's interesting that they're gonna be putting it in the meat section of the grocery store. I think that can make confuse and anger some people, but I think it's smart business strategy. But I have no problem.
But isn't this also also about farting cows, right? Because the Democratic Party doesn't want cows because apparently they create a lot of CO2 emissions, and therefore this is an alternative.
Well, this could definitely be like a disruptive technology, if you will. I mean, it's not really tech,
you could have a correlation be made, but it's innovation.
I mean, if it's all plant patty or whatever type of meat they're making that looks like it, tastes like it, feels like it, and people switch to it, then obviously you're going to be disrupting dairy farmers and meat farmers and all the farmers across the country. Yeah, it could be pretty interesting.
So, I mean, we could have an actual section in the grocery store, an AOC section with a little garden, and there could be a Beyond Meat AOC section.
Instead of can't believe it's not butters, I can't believe it's not meat.
So, I mean, if you went to Capitol Grill or to Morton's or to one, Ruth's Chris, one of these places, and they had this on the menu, I want to hear this from millennials. Are you going to order the ribeye steak, or are you going to order this non meat product that's plant-based?
Give me the porterhouse.
See, I knew it.
Yeah, but if I'm looking for a plant-based thing, I'm not going to Morton.
Makes perfect sense. So last up, we have robot overlords have arrived for lower paid workers. This is the idea that AI, artificial intelligence, is watching you and measuring your performance while you're working. In fact, in the Wall Street Journal, there's an article entitled, "The Lower Paid Workers, the Robot Overlords Have Arrived. Software and algorithms are used to screen, hire, assign, and now terminate workers." Guys, thoughts on this?
Hate it.
Millennials hate this?
Oh my gosh, I think millennials hate it severely. Yeah, I would say probably overwhelmingly millennials hate this because, I mean, it's like the whole person concept is like gone now, right? I mean, it's like when you go to like apply for a job, you're reduced to what you submit online. You submit your resume,
Analytics.
Yeah, tests, whatever it is. You're reduced to that, and you don't get the whole person. Like, you might be like a great candidate, but you never get to that point where you actually talk to someone face to face.
And we've already had elements of this per se in resume screening services that bigger companies use, that they screen for keywords and then filter you up to the HR manager. But we're really taking the human out of human resources now with just machines making the decisions, which I don't think is right, because seeing someone on paper is different from actually meeting them, because they may not present well, but when you see them in person, they may be like, great, we'll hire you.
Absolutely.
instantly.
And listen to this in the Wall Street Journal article that I just mentioned. Millions of low-paid workers' lives are increasingly governed by software and algorithms. This was starkly illustrated by a report last week that Amazon.com, no surprise there, tracks the productivity of its employees and regularly fires those who underperform with little human intervention. In fact, in the state of Maryland, where there's a Amazon fulfillment center, 300 employees over the past 12 months have been terminated based on this software and algorithm system that they have in place, the AI system. Thoughts on this, guys?
Crazy.
Come on.
Is there an
Final
appeal
thoughts.
process on the machine? Like, come on, it's like, whoa, why did I get fired? What was the statistic here?
What are you notified on your phone? Is like, I guess your
last timesheet,
your Venmo'd your last, paycheck, and then they have on there your timesheet and say, oh, by the way, according to our system, you haven't, produced enough in order for us, so we're gonna have somebody else in line right behind you.
This is gonna piss millennials off. I mean, quite frankly, this goes to the point of the Elizabeth Warrens of the world that want to break up these big tech companies because in essence, having a robot or these robot overlords do all of this work and take out the human aspect of it, it's gonna improve their bottom line. I mean, that's kind of what they're after.
I agree completely. I mean, it's so frightening, and I would hate. We talked about in the turn of the century. You had Henry Ford, who automated, of course, the assembly line and so forth, and you made cars this way, and everybody says so impersonal and so forth. I'm sure it was. This is actually much more impersonal because now it's a computer and it's AI and it's these are algorithms. I mean, it's scary.
It's a balancing act, and where you can see elements of what Warren wants to try to do, you can see some merit and see some positives of that. But overall, it's like, where's the balance? You can't break up. Major companies are making a lot of money for the country through taxes and everything like that, and innovation. But then you can't treat your workers like so impersonally. You have to,
like they're robots.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's next.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's what's coming next. Andrew, final thoughts on this subject before we wrap it up.
Like I said, I think millennials overwhelmingly are going to be against this. Like, I think Ryan said it really well earlier. It's like we already are dealing with a world where a lot of like the business world, it's filtered through computers and it gets to a person. Now we're getting rid of that back end person altogether, and it's just computers analyzing
crazy.
it.
I agree with you.
Scary.
Why don't you join us next time as we talk about censorship in social media and the media in general. I want to thank Andrew Fulginiti and Ryan Brady the Squirrel, Fulginiti, and Adam Katora. We'll see you next time on Mark and the Millennials.